Hi everyone. So I am going to discuss a moment from my life that really was truly difficult for me and helped shape the person that I am today. And by doing this, I hope to really help you and inspire you to sift through the events of your own life and find a moment from your life that was maybe really positive or really negative, truly hard or truly amazing, and think how did that moment influence you or shape you and help you grow into who you are at this point in your life. So, um, now I want to remind you that to start this assignment, you read a college personal statement written by my former student, Anthony, and his statement, which he titled The World Turned, is all about discovering in second grade, essentially, that he didn't have a father. So it was this one little moment, though, that really kind of he honed into as his to shape his college personal statement. And it was this memory he had of being in second grade, and his teacher asked him to make a Father's Day card. And he was like, I don't have a father. And so it was this like memory of watching all of these friends that he had in second grade sitting at these desks making these cards, and him realizing he didn't have a dad, and how he went home and talked to his mom that night and asked her about his dad and why he didn't have a dad. And so his whole story was really growing up without a father, but that would have been really long and broad for his college personal statement. So he really stuck with that moment, that anecdote that um, is about not having a father, but it helped us see this snapshot of his life to understand more about him. And then he talked about his growth from that and the things he was able to accomplish and what he wants to do in the future. So his whole 2-page story isn't just about being there in second grade, but that's how he starts his college personal statement. And that is a traditional approach. So now, my experience. So in this assignment, you're not writing the whole personal statement. You're just identifying an aha, light bulb moment, an epiphany moment that you have. And then you're going to create either 2 Google slides, like my 2 slides that I'm about to talk through, or you're going to go to the Flipgrid assignment and you are going to create a video um, a video where you discuss that epiphany moment or that aha moment. So I just wanted to pull this Flipgrid assignment up just for a minute so you can see this definition of epiphany. So epiphany, a moment of sudden and great revelation or understanding. Then, as if we all have an epiphany at the same moment, we simultaneously yell out. So it's this realization in your life. And for me, my realization in my life was when I tragically lost someone I was so close to. And so here we go. I'm going to talk through that. Today I'm going to present to you my epiphany moment. And to do so, I'm going to tell you about an experience that shaped me and who I am today. When I lost my very close friend Jason to suicide in high school, it absolutely sent my life spiraling out of control, and I went into a very dark time. So I've titled this Somewhere in a Bottle, and to me that kind of has symbolic meaning about like all of these emotions and feelings that are bottled up inside me from this experience that I went through, and how I keep it somewhere like closed up or bottled up. But also I actually have a memory with Jason where we wrote about our lives 40 years from now. We said when we're in our 40s, we're gonna read this note again. So we put a, you know how they talk about a message in a bottle? Well, we put this letter, this written note about where we were going to be in our lives and this pact we made. And we put it in a bottle and we buried the bottle one night on a beach. And after he died, I really wanted to find that bottle and I could never find it. So it had a lot of meaning for me. That's why I named my title slide somewhere in a bottle. So Jason was 17 when he died. And um, what happened was that I found out at the peak of my own career in my life. And my career at that time was softball. I was an athlete. I was a hardcore badass athlete. That's all I did. That's what I wanted to do in my life. I didn't have any aspirations to become a teacher at that time or a journalist. And I was actually at a point where I was going to be training for the Olympics to be a softball pitcher. So I had all these coaches, and I was on travel teams. I did all kinds of stuff. I was a captain during high school, and I actually had a whole scholarship lined up to play in North Carolina at the time of his death. And so what I would focus my personal statement on would not be just like, oh my gosh, my friend died, but a moment. And the moment was really when I found out, because it was celebratory. It was my senior night of high school. It was my very last game. So it was the last day, the last game, the last time I was pitching on the mound. My senior night of high school. And when my friends arrived, I could tell that something was wrong. My best friend, I should say, Chrissy, and my boyfriend at the time, Adrian. So when they arrived, they arrived late in the game. It was, I want to say, the fourth inning by the time they showed up, and I was a little upset because it was such a big moment for me. At least where I'm from in Florida, your senior night, they bring, balloons and flowers and cupcakes, and there's a big party on the field afterward, and there's pictures taken, and it's just like this, wow, this huge moment of high school. So when they arrived late and Jason wasn't there, I was honestly upset. But I remember being on the pitcher's mound and feeling like, wow, this is like the best night of my life, but also looking over and just having this sense in my gut that something was off when I looked into their eyes in the bleachers. So this was, again, my senior year. And so this personal statement I would write, and I did write, was to get into a transfer college. So I gave up my scholarship that day. So when that happened, I just went into a complete spiral. I went out of control. I fell into a terrible depression. I was in total shock. And I really think a lot of it was that I grew up with this guy. I was so close to him, and suicide, when someone takes their own life, it's just so hard to grapple with, and you have a lot of guilt and blame. And, I had spent time with him before he died. It was so unexpected. There was no note left. He stole my friend's father's gun from her house, and he went to this park, which you can see here, and he shot himself. So this ultimately led me to develop a passion for writing. And I always liked writing, but I didn't really know how much it would be important to me later in my life. And I found my voice, and I found a way to cope with my loss through words and through writing. And so for 3 years after this occurred, I never touched a softball again. I didn't pick another softball up after that night. I pitched my last strikeout, and the game ended, and I was in the highest peak of my life. And my friend looked at me in the eyes and told me Jason was gone. Jason killed himself. And so I wrote this story to get into University of Florida, into the journalism school. And essentially what happened is I dropped my scholarship. I did not leave Florida on this full ride to play softball and to go to school there. I instead went to a community college for 2 years stayed at home with my parents, struggled with alcohol and depression, drugs, and ultimately came out of that and came out of that stronger and better than I ever was. And that's my story. So I hope by me expressing my own personal story, it helps you think through a moment in your own life that you'd be willing to share that has helped to shape you. Thank you guys. Don't forget, you only need to talk through it like I did in a Flipgrid video. I think I set the timer for 5 minutes, so kind of think through what you want to say. Or you need to do 2 Google Slides. You don't have to do both, but if you do the Google Slides or if you're speaking, try to just be creative with it. Include some pictures, do a little design, and again, think about just a moment from your own life timeline of events that strikes you as being your aha or epiphany moment. Be sure to describe what happened, when it happened, and how it impacted you. Thanks, guys.